Hey guys, okay, so I'm sorry about the noise, GC's loud. Um, I'm doing the review for Libation today. By Aeschylus. Alright, in case you didn't watch the Agamemnon video, I'll be talking a little bit the background of the play, right, and the play itself. So Aeschylus, first player whose works survived in their entirety. He wrote about 90 plays, and 7 of them still exist, although there's a question about one of them, Prometheus found, whether it was written by him or not. Um, the most famous of his plays are the Orsai cycle, and that's the only surviving trilogy of Greek drama. It's born in 523 BC, and is the first playwright to expand theater so that a character talks to another character, rather than just the chorus, as Festus did. And with his plays, there were 3 actors on stage at a time, like other than the chorus. And interesting thing about him, he was involved in the Persian War against Greece, and he fought at the Battle of Marathon and the Battle of Salamis. And actually, his epitaph commemorates his writing. Sorry, not his writing. His war efforts, his military stuff, rather than his writing. So I forgot how many. I said this yesterday. I forgot how many victories he had. I think it was around 13, I want to say. He first won in 484 BC. He won for the Orsaya. And then later on, he died in 456 BC. And that is the story of Aeschylus. Alright, so moving on. The Orsaya cycle. 3 plays. Agamemnon, which I talked about yesterday. Today's Libation Bearers, and tomorrow the Amenities. So it's a trilogy. There was a satyr play, which I talked about. It's basically a farce, a short farce, and it's called Proteus, and it no longer exists. There's some fragments of it, but the background on the Orsai cycle, based on a myth of the homecoming of Agamemnon at the end of the Trojan War. That's how it starts. But before that, the story begins with Pelops and Agamemnon's grandfather, who bribed a man who was going to race for the hand of a beautiful woman, and then he threw him in the sea as a reward, and before that man died, he cursed this guy's family. Later, his sons Atreus, which is Agamemnon's father, and Thyestes, Agamemnon's uncle, fought after Thyestes seduced Atreus' wife, and then Atreus took 2 of his 3 sons, excluding Aeschylus, who appears in this play, and Agamemnon, and he served them to him. So Aeschylus would swear revenge on his son Agamemnon, which he and Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife, they ended up killing Agamemnon and his concubine in Agamemnon. And the Trojan War ended, and into exile is Orestes, and he just comes out of it. He comes back. So that's when the story picks up. Now, myth had been around for several years, and it influenced society and history and theater, and the Greeks were really religious, polytheistic, which meant they worshipped several gods, and they were big on these myths. So, productions. The most famous was National Theatre in London, 1984, I think. Adaptations. Marina Carv's Ariel, which is based on this, and Agamemnon. Morning Begins Electra, which is based on all three plays, The Flies, all three plays. And I forgot Rusty, I think that is also all three plays. That's by Voltaire. So, as I said, this play was written in 458 BC, 2 years before, it's 2 years before, Aeschylus died. At the time, there was contests in theater, and tragedians would write 3 plays in a theater play, and they'd go up against each other for first place, and it was performed at the city Dionysia. And again, this is a classical tragedy. So the play opens when Orestes waits at the grave of his father and discusses how he returns from exile with Pylades, his companion, and he leaves 2 locks of his hair by the grave. Enter the slave women, and they bear libations, which means they drink to the gods. After a dream that Clytemnestra had about the king being angry with her for murdering him. Electra, that's Clytemnestra's daughter and Orestes' sister, joins the women in libations, and she feels like, although she is the daughter of Clytemnestra, she is a slave as a woman, so she joins them. And then when she sees the hair of Orestes, she notices that he's near, and she asks for help, and he comes, and Orestes prays to the gods for guidance, because he has decided, he hasn't decided yet, he wants to murder his mother and uncle, and he seeks guidance at first. So Orestes left her and forced prey, and Orestes then actually decides to go through with the murder. They offer libations to Agamemnon in return for freedom from destruction, and then Orestes talks about how he'll go kill Aeschylus. So, Clytemnestra sees him, and she doesn't recognize him, and he says he's a stranger, and he convinces her to let him into the palace, and then he kills Aeschylus, kills Clytemnestra, and then now here's something I was confused about. Something I read about in the stage directions. That the women turn on him or something, and they become Furies. I don't know, maybe I misinterpreted it. Because I know the Furies appear in the Eumenides, but I don't think the slave women had anything to do with the Furies, or if I don't know. That was weird. Characters, Orestes. Classical hero. He is faced with a difficult decision, that's to murder his mother and murder his uncle. And he's gotta do it. Because if he doesn't, the gods will haunt him, because he won't let the soul of Agamemnon rest. So he's, excuse my language, he's kind of fucked, by this. He's being fucked over. Clytemnestra, although she's not the protagonist here, she was an Agamemnon. She again appears manipulative and deceitful and evil. Electra, is the opposite of Clytemnestra. She's more where the Greeks wanted women to be, submissive and weak and slave-like. One thing I want to talk about is the electric complex, which was coined by Freud. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Gestes. Orestes refers to him, his wife, as two rulers or women. And as we saw in the first play, he was pushed by Clytemnestra, who persuaded him to get revenge and to marry her. So Clytemnestra does wear pants in the house, I guess. Other characters, we have Clyssa the nurse, we have Pylades, Orestes' companion, the porter and the servant, and then we have the slave women as the chorus. So, why do we have slave women here? Well, it's a patriarchal society in Agamemnon. Here is also patriarchal, but this is about the women seeking help. Mainly Electra. Electra is the center of these women. And she wants justice. And she turns to a man to get justice from this woman who acts like a man. So these women all are tied in with Electra, and I think it's important that Orestes is a central figure in the play, and therefore is being judged by women, as opposed to his mother, who is being judged by men in the first place. So I think that's something to do with why the chorus is female. Themes. Libation. Obviously the Greeks were really religious. They did drink to the gods, they did drink to spirits. And this was for, I would say, like, a sense of reassurance, a sense of hope, security. So, that says a lot about them. Feminism. I talked about how Electra, is written as weak and submissive. Although angry at the same time. She, in the analysis, I'll be talking about, the Electra complex. She and Orestes are twins, and, in my opinion, they're equals, but somehow, in her eyes and in the eyes of the Greeks, she is powerless to kill her mother. It's up to the man to do that. And so this is more anti-feminism. All three of these plays are, like, anti-feministic. Clytemnestra is seen as evil because she's assertive, and Electra's the ideal. She doesn't act, she asks the male to act. Then there's revenge, injustice, and family murder. Now, my analysis. I did talk about feminism. I do want to talk about the Electra complex. And I've read this play several times, and up until now, I didn't really think about the Electra complex. So, Agamemnon was kind of a douche. We all know that. He was prideful. He he sacrificed his daughter. He was sleeping around. He wasn't paying any attention to his wife. And yet, no matter how bad her daddy was, Electra loved her father more than Clytemnestra. She hates her mother. And we see that, in modern psychology, like, girls just, worship the ground their father walks on most of the time, not always. But, in more cases, they are closer to their fathers and their mothers. And, we see that with Electra and how she wants her brother, her twin, to step up in the role of a man to get revenge on the mother and kill her, for her father's soul to be avenged. And I think it's essentially because of this, and then let's see how many days. In 3 days we have Oedipus Rex. I'll be talking about the Oedipus complex. And I did talk about revenge and mainly murder to some degree. So, how does feminism, Electra complex, and revenge tie in? So, what we have is, a woman who acts like a man, and then we have a weak female character, and she wants revenge for her father's death, so she turns to another man to carry out the action to kill Agamemnon, and it's murder. So, that's how all these themes tie in. Positive things, strong symbolism for libation, and I like how the Electra complex plays into this. I didn't notice that the first few times I read it. It kind of took me a while. Negative stuff, there is kind of too much dialogue between Orestes and Electra. No real well-defined action. Seems too in medias res and ends inconclusively. The cast is fairly large. I mean, it's good for universities and community theaters, but for regional theaters, it could get a little expensive, and unless you downsize the chorus. And then, although this is meant to be a tragedy, there's no tragic fall, or there is a flaw, but there's no downfall of Orestes in this play. So I wouldn't say this. I mean, I think this is the first play after the tragedy, and so far this is a continuation. So that's what I think. Anyway, that's all I have today for this play, and tomorrow I will be doing Communities, so look out for that. Alright, bye!